Okay, here we have some examples of limits by factoring and limits at infinity. In this example, we have the limit as x approaches -2 of x cubed plus 2x squared minus 36x minus 72 divided or over x squared minus 4x minus 12. So here we know if we do direct substitution, we will end up with something undefined. So what we have to do here is to solve by factoring. So I can factor this exercise by grouping. That means that I have to divide the polynomial that I have here on top, right, in groups of 2, right? Because I can use the x cubed plus 2x squared because both terms have at least 2x's in common, right? So I can factor the x squared times 1x plus 2. That would be the factored form of this one. Now I can group the other two, that is negative 36x minus 72, and I can factor them because both are I can divide by 36, right? So I can factor the 36. This would be minus 2, right? Oh, but since here this is negative and this is negative, in order to have a negative again here, this has to be positive, right? So now on the denominator I have to use the two parentheses to factor that one, right? I will have to use x and x here, right? So this would be two numbers that multiply would be -12 and added would be -4. So those could be 6 and 2, right? And maybe this should be negative and this should be positive because -6 times +2 would give me -12, and -6 plus 2 will give me -4. So now it's correct. Now what is the next step? Is to factor. Now I have to factor again the numerator and look at what is the term that is that this factor and this other one have in common. I can see that in both factors the x plus 2 is repeating, right? So I can factor x plus 2 from both, right? So I will factor x plus 2 from both, and now I will end up with x squared minus 36, right? The thing that is missing for each factor that I have here, right? Now this is over x minus 6 times x plus 2, right? But I can continue factoring this expression because here I have what? I have difference of squares, right? So I can rewrite this. Let's continue with to the other page, right? So I can say that this could be equal to x plus 2 times x plus 6 and x minus 6, right? That would be the factored form. Now on the bottom I have what? X plus 2 times x minus 6, right? So here should be x minus 6. Now I can cancel this one, this other one, so I will end up, and also I can cancel this other two, so my solution should be x plus 6 divided by 1, since I canceled everything on the denominator, right? So at the end I have x plus 6, right? And now here on this expression I can use the substitution. So what was the limit? The limit says when x approaches -2. So what I can do here is plug in the -2 and the x, right? Plus 6. So at the end this should be -2 plus 6 would be 4 positive, right? That should be my answer when I use factoring, guys. Now let's move on to the other part of your practice, that is limits at infinity, right? Remember that the first rule says that when the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator, then I will work only with the coefficients of the greatest x, right? So let's identify which of the terms on the numerator, which one has the greatest x, right? So I have 3x cubed plus x squared minus 2. So which one is the greatest power for x? It would be this one, right? Because 3x cubed, this cube is bigger than this one. So I don't care about the other part. I will work with this term. Now let's do the same with the denominator. So I have x squared plus x minus 2x cubed plus 1. So which one of these terms has the greatest x? So I can see that the x with the biggest power is this number, negative 2x cubed. The 3 is bigger than this 2, and of course it's bigger than the x, that is with the power of 1, right? So what I have to do here is to work with the ones that have the greatest power, right? So I will care only about those two terms. So this would be, this expression will be reduced to 3x cubed divided by negative 2x cubed. Those are the two terms that have the greatest power, right? And since the powers are the same, right, what I have to do is I can cancel these two, and my solution should be only the coefficients, these two coefficients of my greatest x values, right? So the solution here should be 3, sorry about the 3, right? 3 divided by 2, and this should be negative, right? So this should be my answer at the end. This is the answer, right? Negative 3/2. That would be the answer for this one, using the short method, guys. So at least I want you to understand that short method. So let's try to do this one more, right? With infinite limits. So what I have to do is do the same. Let's look at the biggest power on top and the biggest power at the bottom, right? So the rule says that I have to look at the biggest one. So on top I have 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. So I will work with this one because the power here is bigger than the power, of course, that I have here, a 1, right? So the 2 is bigger than the 1. So I will work with this one. Now here at the bottom I have 3x squared minus 5x plus 2. So which power is bigger between the x's that I have on the bottom? Is this one, right? This power is bigger. So this would be equal, or this expression I can reduce only to 2x squared divided by 3x squared, and then I can cancel these two x's, right? So the rule says that the limit will be the coefficients of those two greatest x that I have, right? So the coefficients of these two are, on top is 2 and the bottom is 3. So the limit here should be 2/3, guys. So I hope this video will help you with the practice.